Right, well, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to this short session on Children's University. As mentioned at the beginning, it'd probably take about an hour at the most, not the 2 hours that we put the event in for. Please do, if there are any questions, please do pop them in the chat, or we'll have time at the end to ask any questions. But I hope you'll find this session informative, and it'll make it very crystal clear on the reasons why we are engaged with the Children's University. So welcome to primary schools here this afternoon. Can I just quickly ask that you just record your attendance at the session, if that's okay? I can put the link in the chat if that helps, if colleagues can't pick it up from the screen. Give me 2 seconds, but if you wouldn't mind doing that, that'd be really helpful. I'll just let the people in, if that's okay. Another couple of people join us. Good afternoon, colleagues. Those just joining us, if you wouldn't mind just quickly filling out the attendance record with Children's University and today's date. There isn't a course code. Thank you, everyone. The link I've put in the chat, in case you can't pick it up from the QR code. So just whilst you're doing that, just moving on, I just wanted to set the scene, really. Some of you may have already seen this short YouTube video. Some of you may not, but I think in the context of what we're going to be speaking about over the next hour, I just wanted to sort of refresh everybody's mind. And for those of you who may not have already seen the YouTube video for Children's University, so I'm just going to load that now. Quickly let somebody else in. Good afternoon, colleagues, just joining us. Oh, we've got a little bit of feedback there. If you wouldn't mind just muting your microphones, please. Thank you very much indeed. And I'm just going to play a short video for the Children's University now. So just give me 2 seconds.
Structure scale.
Let me know if you can't hear that.
Children only spend 9% of their waking life in a classroom. At Children's University, we unlock a love of learning to make the most of the other 91%. We want children from all backgrounds to have access to an eye-opening range of new learning opportunities. Our charity encourages, tracks and celebrates children who take part in learning beyond the classroom. To ensure a high-quality and consistent experience, all our learning opportunities are validated. Schools validate their own activities, and Children's University validates activity taking place outside of the school. When an activity is validated, the learning provider is given a stamp code that is unique to each activity. Children choose from a fantastic range of learning opportunities and take part using their passport to learning. The passport is used to collect stamp codes for each activity they experience. These stamp codes enable students to build up a record of their own achievements. When these codes are added to a child's own online account, children will see further information about what they've done. They can see their interests build, their skills develop, and they can track their progress and gain certificates to reward their achievements. New activities and new experiences are being added all the time as our network grows. We know our approach helps children develop new skills and build confidence. Research by the Education Endowment Foundation also shows that taking part in Children's University makes a real difference to educational attainment. For schools and education providers, you can see the progress children are making, track success and report on the activities. You can prepare vital reports for parents, partners and organisations such as Ofsted. Children's University is already up and running in over 1,000 schools, and each year children take part in almost 4 million hours of learning. If you're a school and you're not involved, why not get in touch and we'll tell you how to get started. If you run activities for children that you think would be great for Children's University, start the validation process online and we'll be in touch. For children and families, find your nearest Children's University online. Get involved and unlock a love of learning.
Okay, that hopefully sets the scene. Some of you might have already seen that, some not, but I just think it helps to set the context for our session over the next hour or so. The nearest Children's University is the EAS Children's University, and we started the process last year, piloting with a small number of schools in the EAS region. And you know, this is an opportunity now to share much further afield. So it's really good to see colleagues here this afternoon. So I think before I hand over to my colleague, I just wanted to sort of talk about some of the key aspects of why EAS have got involved in Children's University. And I think the first thing to say is, you know, we've got involved because like yourselves, there's clear benefits to be had for our learners engaging with the Children's University. I think it's worth mentioning here as well, despite the title of university, this platform, this fabulous resource is for every child in your school. It isn't restricted to the, you know, the more able and talented learners, or any particular cohort of learners. It's for absolutely everyone in whatever key phase that you decide to take part in. It has clear benefits for learners. It's about recognizing and celebrating learning beyond the classroom, which, you know, we all are keen to do, whatever that looks like. It is about growing independence. Again, a key feature of education in general, but certainly within the context of Curriculum for Wales. In terms of benefits for schools, it's a golden opportunity to enhance further your family and community engagement, you know, engaging with parents, engaging with local communities on your doorstep, or those that learners in your school currently engage with. And you'll see throughout the presentation that it's firmly aligned to aspects of Curriculum for Wales, whether that's the AOLEs, the cross-cutting themes, or, you know, the for purposes. But you'll see that as we go along. So in terms of EAS's role, I am the EAS lead for Children's University, and delighted to be so. You know, I've had some great feedback to date from schools who've already engaged, and the enthusiasm that is coming through from their learners. So there is an EAS Children's University site on the National Children's University platform, which you'll get to have a look at shortly. There's my contact details, you know, from this moment on. And, you know, here to support you with additional training, engaging with your local community to ensure that their offer is present on the Children's University online platform. But we can talk about that a little bit later. And, you know, just to give you the heads up from the outset, there is no fee for schools to pay. That's something that EAS are supporting. So I think that's probably me, because I'm delighted to be joined here this afternoon by Cordelia Howard, who's the Digital Inclusion Manager for the Children's University. And I'm going to hand over now to Cordelia, who's going to take you through the rest of the presentation. But as I said at the start, any questions, please put them in the chat, or if you want to wait until the end and you've got some questions, please, you know, feel free to come on screen and have that conversation. So I'm going to take my presentation down now, aren't I, Cordelia?
Yeah.
So you can put yours up. Is that okay?
Brilliant.
Should do that.
Okay. Thank you. There's a bit of an argy-bargy just as I'm sorting this out in a second. Brilliant. So hi everybody. As Sian said, I'm Cordelia Howard and I'm Digital Inclusion Manager for Children's University Trust, which is the charity at the heart of a very fabulously diverse network of children's universities that kind of span nationwide. So we're kind of based within the Northwest. We're a really small team and we work with colleagues such as Sian and other kind of providers of Children's University nationwide. So this presentation is mainly going to be about Children's University Online, which is the bespoke digital platform that goes alongside the kind of Children's University programme, and it's there to support all Children's University activity. It's to support you running Children's University within schools, making all the processes really straightforward, and gives you some really fabulous reports as well. Moving forward from today's introductory session, there will be full training kind of offered as well. So I just want you to get a bit of a taster. And if we were moving forward, then obviously there would be a session which would go into detail and make sure you feel comfortable with all the admin processes and things like that. So yeah, if you have questions as I'm going along, pop them in the chat, or as Sian said, we'll definitely have time afterwards for any questions you might have about Children's University in general or specifically the online. So what is Children's University Online? So it was built in 2019, just before the kind of world turned on its head with COVID and school closures, and we all know about that. So prior to 2019, Children's University was a passport scheme. So some of you may have seen this kind of passport that children have when they're part of CU. It's brilliant, it's tangible, it's something children and their families and caregivers love. The idea being that they take these around with them, their passport to learning, and it's a kind of cultural passport, if you like, going to all sorts of different activities, trying new things, and they would have gotten a signature in their passport to say, you've spent an hour swimming, martial arts, whatever it might have been. It would then have been a kind of manual job for the Children's University manager to count up those hours to see which children were ready to graduate. So the scheme worked really well, but there was flaws in it when it came to the admin side of things. You can imagine the kind of quite admin heavy, but also we had no impact data as to how children were engaging with the programme, whether the passports were sitting in the back of a drawer, whether they were doing all sorts of different things, whether it was having its desired effect, what did provision look like nationwide, what did participation look like nationwide. And we also, working with such a diverse network, needed something to standardise Children's University, making sure that all of our children, wherever they are in the country, have access to the same opportunities and experience. And it's also added value to all of our stakeholders. So now the process is each activity, and I'll talk more about activities in Children's University in a moment, but any activity that is added to Children's University Online will have its own stamp code. And it's the stamp code that's kind of replacing the signature in the passport. And that stamp code's got a lot of information loaded in it, such as skills development information, categories of learning children are engaging with, and how many hours they've taken part in. So when they enter that stamp onto their online dashboard, it unlocks that information for them, but also as schools using Children's University Online and as Children's University managers and at the Trust, you're able to receive really impactful data around skills development, around categories of learning, and also kind of have a real insight into what your learners are taking part in outside of the classroom. So the key point to Children's University is our kind of award structure and the graduation. So graduation is a real high point of Children's University, and Sian may have spoken to you about this before, or you might be aware of it if you've had a little look around our website. We want to really encourage children and young people to be building hours in all sorts of different learning beyond the classroom activities. And that phrase is kind of key to Children's University, learning beyond the classroom. So these are activities which are extracurricular, so they can be run absolutely in school, outside of school, it can be done online, at home, but they must sit outside of that core curriculum. They must have some elements of structured learning within them, and wherever possible, children should be choosing to take part in these activities voluntarily. So the idea is that they're building up these hours to the hope of hitting our award structure to then be able to graduate, which tends to happen maybe once a year, and it's a real high point. There's gowns, families are invited, and it's a real celebratory day. So this is our award structure. It follows the kind of typical academic kind of structure. So you've got your undergraduate level, which is 30 to 100 hours. And as I said, this is kept track on the children's dashboard, and you'll be able to see this on your admin dashboard as well. And it goes all the way up to 1,000 hours. So they're working to these points, gathering certificates along the way. So as I said, if we're moving forward and there will be training involved, we'll be working around all the different areas of your dashboard. So I'm only going to cover it very briefly for now. But there's two different dashboards. You'll be given your in-school coordinators Children's University online dashboard. This is where you'll go to manage all kind of admin relating to your learner accounts. You can view participation reports and add activities, and the children have their own child level dashboard where they log on to enter their stamps, and I'll show you that in a minute. But this is what your dashboard would look like. So it's straightforward, everything's in one place. There's no kind of tricky things that you need to be aware of. Basically, anything to do with kind of admin and accounts is here. You can add any colleagues and they'll have the same access as you do. Anything to do with user accounts is here. You can bulk import learner accounts and generate usernames and passwords. You can then have lots of different admin functionality, which really streamlines running the program. You can kind of dig deep into the different hours they're collecting and have that overview. You've also got lots of reports here, which I'll show you give you a bit of an insight into how we use the report at the Trust, so you can see how they can be used. Because at the Trust, we have access to the same reports as you do. And then anything to do with activities, so adding your in-school activities, getting stamp codes for those, you're able to do through your dashboard as well. It's worth pointing out that both the staff dashboard, the coordinator dashboard, and also the children's dashboard is a really simple toggle, and you can change it between the Welsh language, Welsh medium, or English medium. So you can go back and forth. So you'll probably hear a lot about activities in Children's University, because that's what we do. We validate activities for children. And what I mean by validate is just a stamp of approval from Children's University to say this activity fits within our guidelines and it's a good Children's University activity. So as I mentioned earlier, things like structured learning, does it sit outside the core curriculum? Do children choose to take part in it? All of that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of ways activities get onto our site for children and their families to be able to find and kind of find new activities and opportunities to take part in. So all you would need to worry about as a school coordinator is adding your activities that take place in school. So anything outside of school, you don't need to worry about, but it would be your responsibility to get all of those great extracurricular clubs any learning opportunities on the system, which is straightforward and would be covered in the training. Anything that sits outside of that, so all of the different things that children and young people get up to, whether it's, I don't know, kickboxing, craft clubs, whatever, coding, whatever they do, Sian would be responsible for validating and getting those on the system. So that's where these steps come in here. So anybody outside of school can submit their activity to be validated, and they do that by filling out a form on our website, which basically is an eligibility test. It's all our safeguarding information, partner terms, all of that kind of stuff. And it's followed by quite an in-depth form, which requires them to fill out all the scheduling information, descriptions of the activities, skills that are developed by children taking part, categories of learning, etc., etc. They would then submit that to EAS, who would review that, make sure it's all above board, everything makes sense. There would then be a phone call or a Zoom conversation, which is where the stamp code would then be generated as well. And it's that stamp code which is given to the learning provider, who gives that to the children to put in their passport, enter online, and so on, so on. So that's the kind of process of how we get clubs and learning opportunities, museums, whatever it is, onto the system. But all you need to worry about would be getting your in-school activities on there, which is straightforward. So although you are not responsible for, or you won't be responsible for any of the validation for things taking place outside of school, we do have resources to support you in encouraging young people, children and their families and caregivers to get the word out. So these are little learning poster cards that can be handed out that children can take to anything that they're getting up to. There's a QR code that the learning provider can scan, and it takes them directly to that form. So it's a bit of a two-pronged approach. The more children are kind of out there doing lots of activities, the more learning providers want to get involved. But it's important that children, families and caregivers are aware that they need to be kind of asking their kind of regular activities if they would sign up. But a little bit more about stamp codes. So as I said, every single activity, whether it's taking place in school or outside, will only be part of Children's University once it has its stamp code. And that process is straightforward and it's built into the dashboard. But the stamp code's a key part of CU because it is what is given to children to enter into their online account, passports, to build those hours. Well, that stamp code has key data that's loaded into it, taken from the activity form. So things like how many hours that activity or session lasts for will be in that stamp code. Also, any skills data is in there as well. So I'll talk about Skills Builder in a minute, which is built into Children's University Online. But anytime we add an activity, we have to select from some essential skills that we think are being developed by children taking part. The same with categories of learning. So there's 16 different categories of learning that you could pick, or a learning provider could pick, to say this activity falls under STEM or nature and the environment, social community action, whatever it might be, and details of any engagement with employers, higher education and further education. And I know, Sian, it's not Gatsby, is it, in Wales? Do you want to just mention a little bit about that?
No, we have Careers Wales in Wales, Cordelia, which colleagues know about on screen, so they have their own framework towards, but yeah, no, Gatsby hasn't officially made it over the border yet.
But that data you can use to fit in with that, because it will basically say, right, your school has got X amount of activities that offer children and young people the chance to engage within a professional environment or to meet employers, higher education, further education, or this activity shows links between learning and a career pathway. So you're able to report against all of those different metrics. So this is Skills Builder. Now, Skills Builder is a completely separate organisation from Children's University, but we've built them in and we've partnered with them to build in their framework of essential skills into Children's University online. So these are the 8 essential skills that they've identified that they believe all children and young people should have the opportunity to be developing through formal education, learning beyond the classroom. So you've got listening, speaking, problem solving, creativity, staying positive, aiming high, leadership and teamwork. And Sian and I were talking earlier, but obviously there's real parallels and it really aligns to the curriculum for Wales. So you're able to report against each one of these skills in terms of provision, so what you have available to children who attend your school against these different skills, and participation as well. For children and young people, these are built into their dashboard, so it gives them that shared language around skills development. So I quite often use the example, say somebody's a captain of their local football team and it's been added to their dashboard. Now they may just see that as, you know, they play football, they really enjoy it, kicking around with their friends, when actually it shows real aiming high skill and leadership and teamwork as well. So it kind of joins up the dots for those young people and children to be able to have that language around skills development. And we're also then able to report on that and kind of use that language when we're talking about it as colleagues, but also when we're talking to children and young people. How it works for children. So once we've done all the training, you would be responsible for setting up all accounts for your children and young people, which is straightforward. You can do that with one bulk upload, and this will generate all of their usernames and passwords. They can then log on from any internet-enabled device and get to their dashboard. So it works really nicely on phones, tablets, iPads, whatever. As long as it can access the internet, they can get onto their dashboard. So through their dashboard, they can see their progress against Children's University award levels. So they can see, right, I've got 5 hours to go before I hit my 30 hours, which will be my bronze award certificate. That's where they would submit stamp codes for activities they've completed. And also brand new, which we're really excited about, and it's going to be launched in a couple of weeks. So I think just towards the last first week of April, children can now add their own activities through their dashboard. So historically, if children would need a stamp code to enter it into Children's University online. If they didn't have a stamp code, they'd have to request one either from the school or from the CU manager, which was fine, but it added those different steps and could sometimes just, admin wise, become a bit admin heavy. What we've done is we've built in a kind of self-reflection form, which means that they can add any activity, whether it's going for a nature walk or whatever, as long as they tell us about the activity, describe it, what did they learn, pick their skills, their categories, would they recommend it to a friend, etc., etc. They're able to get a stamp code automatically for that. It also enables them to write book reviews, film reviews, tell us about anything that they've done, and you're able to view their submitted work through your staff dashboard. So that's a really great development, which we're really excited about. They can see their skills develop, they can see categories of learning they're engaging with, and any activities you add as a school will pull through to their dashboard. So they can see immediately everything you've got going on that term and how to get involved. They can also go through to our search, where we kind of signpost to all of our validated activities I believe there's about 12,000 public activities, which obviously quite a lot of them are location specific, but a lot of them are online and can be taken part in wherever you're from. So they can also browse all of those different activities we've got available for them too. So this is just a little quick insight into the children's dashboard, what it looks like. Bear in mind, we're still making slight tweaks, so it looks quite plain at the minute. We're going to be adding some nice kind of colourful icons, and it'll be a bit more visually kind of appealing. But immediately they can come on, they can record an activity which will take them to either adding a stamp or writing about their own activity, see how many hours they've got, award level, and if they click into their learning log, they're taken to an overview of everything that they've done. And this is printable as well, and they can download it. So really quickly, they can have a glance, they can see their own submitted work, they can view their own work when they've written about it and see the different see the different skills that are associated to each activity. So again, at a real quick glance, they can kind of join those dots of, right, I did football, that's teamwork, leadership, blah, blah, blah. So it just really quickly kind of embeds those skills. They can also see their top categories and how many hours they've spent. So there's 16 different categories all in all. Here you'll be able to see their top 5, but if I clicked on view all categories, it would show me all 16, and it would show me, as well as the activities that I've got hours in, activities that had 0 hours in. And you can see, sorry, it's a bit of a grainy screen grab here, but you can see it says find more sports and physical activities. So that would take you to a kind of pre-filtered search only showing you sports and physical. So again, encourage them to try and get hours in every single category and trying something new. Same with skills. So here we've got our different skills that we looked at before. So these are the from Skills Builder Partnership. So you've got your description of what each skill means. You can find more activities to develop each skill. And again, you can view all, see how many hours you've got, and see the skills that you've got no hours in, hopefully prompting them to maybe try something new and develop a new skill that they haven't done before. But hopefully you can kind of see the value in Children's University Online. But you know, it really helps children and young people kind of see that skills development, interest building, and I think really importantly, you know, see the time that they've committed. It says beyond school, but kind of beyond the classroom really, whether that's in school, outside of school, is going to good use. They're encouraged to find new things to take part in, and as well, you've got that kind of sense of momentum in between graduations. So if you've got a graduation once a year, you know, you really want to keep that kind of motivation there and kind of that aspirational, seeing their hours going up and inching towards maybe the next award level. How it would work for you as a school, you would be set up by Sian with your own school level dashboard. So you'd have your own login, which would take you immediately to be able to see all of your pupil accounts, and you can view their participation, add colleagues, that kind of thing. You can then also add any activity that's taking place within the school, and you can view the simple important reports. So showing things like participation by gender and age group, your extracurricular offering, and participation against the skills and categories. So that really allows you to kind of shout about areas of success, but also kind of be able to focus on those cold spots. So, you know, you might find you've got loads of activities that fall under arts, culture and music, and actually could do with boosting our STEM activities, that kind of thing. And your engagement with HE, FE and employers, and as we spoke about earlier, you've got your cross-cutting themes with careers and work related experience there too. So yeah, again, hopefully the value is clear. you know, you can quantify what your learners are doing beyond the classroom, and you've got data that backs it up, highlights their outside interests. You can demonstrate what your offer looks like. So if you need to demonstrate this to any stakeholders, you've got all of that at a click of a button. And it develops independent learning skills, and really importantly, supports the key aims of the curriculum for Wales and skills development. So all of that is already there for you, built into Children's University Online, which is built into your Children's University membership. So moving on, getting towards the end of my little presentation now, but I just wanted to show you how we use the reports that are available on Children's University Online to support our practice at the Trust. So all of these reports I'm about to show you, we used from Children's University Online, and they're exactly the same reports that you have access to. Obviously, we publish these with anonymized data. It just gives you an idea of how you could use it. So yeah, annually we put out our State of the Nation report, and that's everything we know of kind of extracurricular learning beyond the classroom in modern Britain from that past year, and it's all taken from Children's University Online. So if you want to look more deep at these reports in your own time, you can access them on our website, and they're just under what we do and why, and you can kind of, they're broken down into different sections. You might find it interesting. So this report was published in September with the data from 50,000 children, which is now 70,000 children, 12,000 activities, which has gone up to 16,000 activities, and 310,000 hours of recorded participation. So we're able to show the breakdown of where all of our users are. So we know that kind of our key age groups are key stage 2 to early key stage 3. And these are how many hours that we've got recorded. So a key takeaway from the age group, for example, was it's prompted us to look at developing a new version of Children's University Online, specifically aimed at young people. So kind of looking at it being able to be useful to them all the way through to being 18. So how do we do that? You know, branding, moving away from the word Children's University, that kind of thing. What do we need to build in to make it a lot more useful for them? Looking at college, university, jobs, that kind of thing. So that's our takeaway from that, and that's what we're working on at the minute. So this was the breakdown of our categories in terms of provision, and as you can see here, these are our 16 different categories, and there's huge correlation and parallels with areas of learning and experience. So again, this gave us insight in terms of what's available nationally and like on a local level. So we know, for example, careers and enterprise is quite low from what we've got on our Children's University. So languages, uniformed groups. So that just allows us to kind of pinpoint areas that we want to work on to build more resources, collaborate with maybe local employers to get more activities on there that cover those. And again, we're able to see then participation, so what children are actually taking part in, and it kind of mirrors quite closely what's available to them. And you can do exactly the same by skills as well, so able to kind of report against participation and provision. Sian, I don't know if you want to have a little talk through any of those graphics that you've put on there, or whether you
I just highlighted again the correlation between you know, aspects of curriculum for Wales. Here I've put the 4 purposes, you know, which we're all very wedded to. I don't need to relate those again, but you know, it is very much about the 4 purposes: enterprising, ambitious, you know, ethical, all those skills that you've highlighted there, Cordelia, coupled with the previous pages, just brings it all together for us, really.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's it really. I hope that's kind of enough information. Probably is a lot of information for you to kind of take away and just be thinking over. But as I said, there's be lots of space for questions, but please don't kind of concern yourself with any of the actual processes for adding activities to that kind of thing, because that would all be covered in a an in-depth supported training session. So I'll just stop sharing my screen here and pass back to Sian. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Cordelia. That was really what we say. That was right on the button, really, because it was nice and succinct, and you made it crystal clear the benefits of Children's University. As I said at the very beginning, we did start the process last year. We had a couple of primary schools pilot Children's University, and they've gone full steam ahead, gathering their own momentum in terms of validating all their after-school activities and clubs onto the platform. They're also engaging with local communities to encourage them to put their activities on the platform. Just on that note, the way in which that has worked so far is, in my role, I've supported schools to encourage outside providers to put their activities onto the platform, and then we've been able to get them a stamp code so that our learners can get points for the activities, whether it's a local, swimming club, whether it's gymnastics, football, guitar lessons, singing lessons, whatever our young people do. I've been very heartened by the fact that some of these local community groups are keen to have that presence on the platform, which is nice, and understand completely the benefits that it brings to young people. It is a fabulous opportunity to keep a record of everything that our young learners do, because that many of them do so many things. It's impossible to, without some kind of central repository, to know what they are getting up to. As they progress through primary, secondary and post-16 phase, they'll have a fabulous record, when they're off applying for jobs or university or whatever they want to do next in their life, really. They'll have this really comprehensive record. And I think you clearly highlighted, Cordelia, there the added advantage of, if we know what young children are engaging with, we're able to identify areas to maybe focus on more. The different skills, where they may have focused specifically on these handful of skills. What is it we can do to encourage and support them to do other skills that they may not be as confident in, and just help them all round to continue to grow, to develop, become independent learners. I think from our point of view, the next steps would be for colleagues here this afternoon to email me to let me know of your interest in taking this to the next step. The school will need to nominate a coordinator, please, to take this forward. We will then be able to provide logins and passwords. There will be, as Cordelia mentioned, a follow-up training session to actually get down to the nuts and bolts of how do you actually start all this process off. I think schools who were engaged from the outset would strongly recommend ensuring there's complete buy-in from school, in terms of obviously senior management team, governors and the rest of the staff cohort, really. So everybody is up to speed with what Children's University can offer, and that will just really gather momentum in terms of having that whole school enthusiasm for the whole platform and the process. Cordelia mentioned at the beginning about graduation. That's something that we would be very keen to support with, and we can have further discussion about that. Some of you may know that one of the other hats I wear in EAS is a post-16 one. So working with local universities in various capacities in support of our Key Stage 5 learners. So I'm sure we can persuade one of our local universities to host some kind of graduation or award ceremony. But that's something that we can discuss collectively as we get to that point in time. And we'd be absolutely delighted to do something along those lines. So I think that's it really, apart from, you know, as I said, supporting you with your community groups. And again, we can have that one-to-one conversation really on how to best go about that for you. So does anybody have any questions? I've stopped talking now, you'll be glad to know. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, okay. There's just one in the chat. Colleagues had to leave, but I have recorded. I might actually just stop the recording now, if that's okay, everybody. So please do, if